Muy buenas tardes, estamos aquí de nuevo en el canal de la Red Cultural con una nueva entrevista con el historiador británico Max Arthur. Max, welcome to Red Cultural TV. It's an honor for us to have you here, but actually we are now in London making you the interview. So you just launched a new book on Churchill.
That's right.
And you are working in another, but why Churchill?
Churchill, my other interest apart from the military world is photographs. And I did a big book on the First World War photographs, which was hugely successful. So the Churchill family, have never had an authorised photographic book of Winston Churchill. So they asked me if I would do it.
Ah.
So they gave me photographs that had never been seen before.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And the other photograph book was Faces on the First World War?
Faces of the First World War, yeah.
And how was it?
Brilliant. They loved it. Everyone loved it. Because he's got that haunted face on the front cover of a soldier who's seen too much. He's got his helmet and he's lost. They call it the 5,000-yard stare. He's just staring. He's lost and gone forever, really. And
how was it, or how have been for you to work with the wars? How you started? When you started? Why?
I started on the Falklands campaign in 1982, and someone said to me, gosh, these men are going to come back and no one's going to listen to their story and they'll be forgotten. So I interviewed probably about 100 survivors of the campaign, and then I selected 30 for the book, and that is still in print 35 years later.
And that was the first book of the Forgotten Voices?
It was just a book called Above All, Courage. So it was about the nature of courage in battle. And so that's what I try to bring across with the people. My first book was actually on the Manchester United air crash. And I found the survivors of that crash and talked to them. So I'm very used to dealing with very traumatized people. And I'm very used to dealing with people who've never spoken before. And suddenly after 50 or 40 or nearly 70 years, suddenly for the first time are telling their story. And it's really quite disturbing because they go back to the age they were of the trauma. It's quite often their voices change, their whole demeanour changes, the tears come for the first time ever in their life.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you work after that the Argentinian world. You work in the project of Forgotten Voices.
Yes.
You started with the First World War, and then the survivors are less, I imagine.
Oh yeah, yes. There are no survivors now of the First World War. None at all in the world. There's only now a few survivors of the Second World War. So they are thinning out now, which is a bit sad, you know.
Yeah.
They're all in their 90s now.
And how you work with the First World War?
I just found them. Just found these old people in various old people's homes, and sometimes in their own houses. And so I would just arrive, and these men would be 104 or 105. Or the oldest was 111.
Oh my God.
Yeah, extraordinary, isn't it? And as articulate as you and I. Absolutely articulate. So it was really quite a sensation. There was many adventures during the time. One of the loveliest was this dear gentleman. He was a doctor, and he was 108. And his wife had died a year earlier at 108, 107. And they had met playing in the sand at primary school, in the nursery. They were 5 and 6, and they'd never had anyone else in their life. So for nearly 100 years they were together.
Wow.
Yeah, that's quite something, isn't it?
It is, indeed.
Yeah. And there was many magical moments with them, and I think the one that always makes me laugh is this lovely man. We went to see him. So we were taking photographs. They had a really good photographer taking photographs of this old man, but he was lying in his bed like this with a blanket over him, and I thought, gosh, he looks dead. And I thought, what are we going to do? So I kept trying to, and his son was 86. His son was 86, trying to push him up the bed. So I thought, okay, nothing I can do. So I sat on his bed and I asked him the story. He told these amazing stories, and of course his son had never heard his father speak about the war. So I find an 86-year-old man sobbing his eyes out because,
Yes.
he'd never heard this, and thought, why can this man come in and ask the questions and my dad answers them? Whereas I've been asking all my life for his story, but I sensed that he was possibly near his end, so he just thought, I must get it out. So we couldn't move him from the bed, and he looked like a skeleton. He looked very thin. I thought, oh God. So he said, is that it then? I said, thank you very much indeed. Picked up the blanket, threw it back, jumped out of the bed and said, right, what about a cup of tea?
Oh my God.
And I thought, you clever old boy. He wasn't going to have anything other than him in control.
Oh my God.
And I thought, lovely. And even the son went,
Yes, of course.
yeah. But I think now that another wonderful one I remember was he'd been a cavalryman on the Western Front at Passchendaele. And that was mud and filth and terrible time. And he rode horses all the time. And when he left the army, he didn't want anything to do with the army, and he didn't want anything to do with horses. So he carried on his life, and he was now 105 when I saw him. Never talked about it. And he was in a home. The home was next door to a field, and I said, well, let's take him outside and photograph him there. And we couldn't get the right angle, and so I was talking to him, and his eyes switched, and across this field was a horse. A white horse. And so he got his words. He went down to the fence, and the horse just instinctively came towards him. And there's a picture in the book of the horse's head over the fence, and he's put his hand up to the horse, and the horse is licking his hand. And I thought,
Oh my God.
don't need any words, that's the picture.
That's the picture.
So after all those years, he still had that affinity with horses, even though he'd never seen them or touched them or anything to do. But he knew, in his heart of hearts, that horse knew where he'd come from.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. How is the work with you work a lot with the Imperial War Museum?
Not now, no.
Not now, but
No.
before.
Before, yeah.
How was that?
Interesting, they've got good tapes there, recorded in some cases 40, 45 years ago. So they were then young men in their 60s.
So they stored
They
taped
yeah,
all the stories
and they were
they stored.
taping in 1960.
Yeah.
So they are, marvellous old boys, as they say, then only aged about 60, 65, so very articulate, very clear. But the ones I got really were the ones that hadn't spoken, had kept their story,
With them.
kept them stories with them, yeah. And I often think how many men of the First World War took these amazing stories and never told them.
Yes.
No one came along, no one asked them.
Of course.
Yeah, and now they're buried with their story.
Of course.
So no one will hear their story.
How was the work for the centenary? So 2014.
Good, but I didn't think we quite captured it here somehow. I didn't think we did enough. There was some good television programs, but I didn't feel there was enough done. They really hadn't examined. Television's very superficial at times, and I thought all the programs are pretty superficial, really. But then there's not much more you can say about the First World War. It's been done so many times, But they had a chance of re-listening to the tapes of these old boys. Some come on radio occasionally now, but a quarter of an hour, if you're lucky, and you think, what gems, what amazing stories, And kids would love them.
Yes.
Because it's another world. It's a world of horses, a world of mules, a world of donkeys, a world of pain, of suffering. And that's where kids get perspective. They think, oh, gosh, what do they go through? What am I going through? So I've got a headache. Boo.
When you started with the wars, why you started? Because you came not necessarily for the field of history at the beginning, so you have a very strange or richful career, because you started on stage.
Yes, as an actor. Yes,
as an actor.
That's right. Yeah, and then the Manchester United was the 25th anniversary of the crash in 1983, and I thought, I was acting somewhere, and I can't remember, and I thought, this isn't very exciting, this is not quite what I want to do. And so I decided I would find the survivors of the crash. And no one had done it. Manchester United had never done it, and I got them all together in one room, all the survivors of the crash. And I got their story done, I gave them each a book, and then after that, I'd asked all the mothers and the fathers and the brothers and sisters of those who didn't survive, because there was 42 in the crash, and 21 died and 21 lived. So those who didn't survive, I got their families. And so when they'd finished the lunch at the hotel, the players, they go, "Oh, thank God that's over." I said, "No, it's not over. You're now going to go to Manchester United," which I'd never been to in my life, and somewhere we'll find these people. Well, they were in a little cafe in the place, and so the doors are open, and if you can imagine 25 years of trauma and shame, oh, I should have phoned you, I should have written to you, I should have done this, I should have done that. There was kissing, tears are flowing down them, because they were all 18, 19, 20 when they were hurt and killed, and now they're men in their late 40s, and suddenly thinking, wow. So this explosion happened of people and feelings, and I was just the catalyst. I'd come up from, and they hated me because Manchester United, who were there, had not organised anything. This man, come from London, found the players, got them all together.
Max,
that's it, yeah. So I thought, well, that's it, And eventually the director came down, and he said, "What's going on?" I said, "'Tis the 20." "Oh, God," he said. So it is. And so he and I were making paste sandwiches for the players and the wives and the children, and making cups of tea for them.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I know. Quite a day.
So that was the first book, and then you leave
Then I did
the
the
stage.
Falklands.
But you leave
Leave
the
the
stage.
stage, yeah.
Because you appear in some BBC's
Yes,
Shakespeare
yeah,
plays.
that's right. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, Time in Athens, a big part, yeah.
Yes.
Beer. Very serious.
So you miss the stage?
Well, because I do so much talking and speeches and things, I use the skills I learned as an actor, really.
Of course.
Yeah. Pitch, pause, bass.
And that make that some people probably think, well, this is a different historian.
Yeah, they do. And other historians hate it.
Because of course, the academic one,
yeah,
they hate might hate you.
Yeah.
I know, this is it's worldwide. So
Yeah,
do not
worldwide,
worry.
absolutely worldwide, so it doesn't worry me at all. I pray sometimes there's going to be someone as dynamic on the stage as I am, but usually General Haig, well, he...
Oh my God.
Yeah. So.
And are you touring with the Churchill book?
No.
No.
I might, I'm hoping to go to America and Canada in the new year.
Yeah.
But I've got the Manchester United book. It's going to be turned into a play.
Now? Wow.
Yeah, in February next year. It's the 60th anniversary now.
But you have two plays by now.
Yes.
So you did one of the Forgotten Voices, the
Yeah,
First World
War.
And how was it?
Marvellous. Ran. Yeah. We did it at the Edinburgh Festival. We did it in London. And it works. People love the voices.
I know. I know. They're incredible.
And I did a combination of the First World War and the Second World War. And we had this little girl. She was about 10. And we auditioned about 7 or 8 actresses who were small, who wanted to play the girl. And I thought, no, it's got to be done by a girl. And this girl who, I think she'd been on stage, but she was still at school, obviously, at 10. And her mother had brought her, and she said she'd like to audition. I thought, simply sensational.
Sensation.
She was there. She was back in 1914 with all the horses being taken away, and she was really angry on the stage about the horses being taken away. I thought, whoa, not bad. And what is amazing is she had a script in front of her, never looked at it once. She had the story in her head, so it didn't matter, it was a few words. And in the second half, amazingly, she played a girl in Dresden in 1945 when it was bombed by the British.
Yes.
And incinerated. And she'd gone back to the house where they lived to try and find her doll. And she couldn't, searched everywhere in the ashes and everything. And she suddenly saw 2 diamonds. And she said, oh, because they were that far apart. And in between was the ashes of her mother. She didn't even bother to learn her lines. She knew it. She looked at that story. She just told it.
Wow.
10-year-old. And I thought,
Oh my God.
Yeah.
This is something.
yeah.
So now Manchester will go on stage.
And Manchester for the Manchester United book. Yeah.
That's great. So you are combining history
Yeah, and drama. And drama. Yeah.
That is your soul.
Good history is drama. As
Well,
we've
it
seen
is.
on the television, you
Yes.
know.
And documentaries?
Documentary, no, not so much. I'd like to do more documentaries. We did a very good one on the Spanish Civil War. That was good. Good documentary. But, I don't know, they're a bit solid. I think I need more drama, more adventure, really. I think all these could be taken, like when I went to Chile. I mean, people responded to the stories, you know, in a different way that they would have had their historian professors talking to them. And I thought, it's good, because they all seem to be listening. They may not have understood a word of what I said, but they were...
They do. They ask you questions.
Yeah,
in
they
English.
did, yeah. But if you remember the translator...
I know.
Yeah, that's a lovely
Yeah, the
stuff.
translators are funny sometimes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, they are, yeah. She wasn't there for the talk, was she? And she only came up for the questions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah.
I remember that. That
Yeah,
was
great day.
funny. But they asking questions in English.
Yes, they do.
In proper English.
Yeah, they do, yeah.
And for very low income schools too. So I was
Yeah.
really
Yeah,
surprised.
yeah. And then we went to another school, a college, a military college.
Yeah, we did a very big lecture using the aula magna of military school.
Oh, right. Well, that's right, yeah. That was good. Enjoyed
Yes,
it.
yes.